estabilidade para o nosso povo! Pelo amor de Deus, eu peço! Governo brasileiro, escuta o povo indígena, por favor!
E o Brasil se recusou a respeitar!
Isso é uma afronta contra o ser humano, é uma afronta contra a natureza.
There's growing unrest and concern around the world. What's at stake is nothing less than the world's last remaining rivers and the millions of lives, cultures, and communities that depend on them.
The world is killing its rivers.
Promoters of mega dams call their energy green and clean.
And people have heard that so many times that they believe it, and they've never heard any of the other information.
In truth, important lands are being flooded, species are being threatened and at times lost, and communities destroyed. Dams also contribute to climate change. Yet, all around the world, most notably in developing nations, there's a new push to build even more dams. The legalities of their construction are often questionable.
They don't give, if you'll pardon the expression, a damn.
The effects of their construction, for many, indisputable.
It will be a catastrophe for the area.
This video is the tale of two such monster dams being built a world apart, in two nations with an ocean of differences between them, and involving two cultures, different in almost every way but one.
Viva nossa luta!
A shared goal to have the last remaining rivers of the world run freely. Hasankeyf is a small town nestled on the Tigris River in the southeast of Turkey in Upper Mesopotamia.
You know, it's an ancient site. It's on the Tigris River, and this is one of the two major rivers in the eastern Anatolia. And it goes through Mesopotamia, giving life to the lands. And so early settlements started around these major rivers. And so you can see cave settlements or small remains.
First settlements in this ancient town date back over 12,000 years. Hasankeyf is virtually an open-air museum.
The area is actually the beginning of civilization. So there are many different eras. Many people lived there throughout centuries. Not only prehistoric, but medieval and later periods are visible there.
With a history that spans back to the dawn of civilization, the archaeological significance of the town is simply unarguable.
There is so much from different cultures, and when they are collected together, they make an ensemble which is unique in the world.
Biz 1000 yıldan beri Hasankeyf'te yaşıyoruz. Ana dilimiz Arapça, Türkçe, Kürtçe ve hatta bazıları Süryanice konuşmaktadırlar. Bu kardeşliğimizi ölünceye denk sürdürmeye istiyoruz.
Fatma is from Hasankeyf, Her family has called this home for centuries. Her grandmother once lived in the ancient castle.
Yani çünkü burası şimdiki yaşadıkları medeniyetin, çağdaş yaşamın ilk adımları, başladığı nokta, dinlerin başladığı nokta, yaşamın başladığı nokta.
With so much rich history, Hasankeyf is of course cherished by tourists as well as residents, and a significant part of the local economy is based on tourism.
Every year they say nearly 1 million visitors came to Hasankeyf. That's right, maybe more than 1 million.
Tourists also marvel at the rare and fragile ecology of the Tigris Valley, which embraces Hasankeyf.
Ya burası böyle saklı bir cennet gibi. Arkadan yani uzaklardan bakıldığında sadece etrafta dağlar var ama o belli bir sınır aştıktan sonra doğaya açılan kapı, tarihe açılan kapı çok farklı bir hava.
The area is endemic to the threatened soft-shelled turtle, many bird species, and mammals. Because of all this, researchers have concluded that Hasankeyf and the Tigris Valley together is the only place on Earth that meets 9 out of 10 criteria for UNESCO World Heritage status.
To be a World Heritage, UNESCO has put criteria for natural sites and cultural sites, and Hasankeyf is both cultural and it's a mixed site. It's not only nature, but also the work of man through the centuries.
To be designated a World Heritage Site, the government of Turkey must apply to UNESCO, as many are calling for. Instead, the Turkish government has other plans for the area. The Ilizu Dam is the biggest and most controversial of over 1,500 dam and hydroelectric power projects the Turkish government plans to build by 2023. It would inundate an area of over 310 square kilometers in Mesopotamia, affecting 5 key biodiversity areas while destroying nature reserves as far off as the newly restored Basra wetlands in Iraq. Over 300 known archaeological sites will be flooded, including the town of Hasankeyf. Over 35,000 people will be forced to relocate.
Bizi de buradan gönderip bizim geçmişimizi de silmeye çalışıyorlar.
Hiç kimse kendi memleketine taşınmak istemiyor.
الناس يسحبيني كلن هون وهونك تربينا وهونك كنا قعدنا وفجأة بلغ ما نطلع هم طلعوا يطلعونا مجبورين نحن هيك كل ما نبقى بيطلعوا.
Ya dünya burada ne kaybedecek? Burada medeniyetin başkenti. Burayı Hasankeyf'i tanımayan yok ki. Yani tarihi kurcaladıkça Hasankeyf çıkar altından. İstediğin kadar karıştır, sonunda nokta Hasankeyf'e gelir. Burayı bir kez gören ikinci kez kesinlikle geliyor.
It will be a catastrophe for the area.
Burası sadece Türkiye'de İslam tarihinin geçmişi değil. Burası başka dinlerin, başka ırkların, başka insanların da geçmişi. Burası Türkiye'de diye onların da geçmişini silmeye hakkımız yok ki. Sadece burası bize ait değil çünkü.
On the other side of the world, in a remote part of the Amazon rainforest, the Xingu River meanders for almost 2,000 kilometers from the northern Brazilian state of Mato Grosso before ending its long journey at the famed Amazon River. Along its many twists and bends live some 25,000 indigenous people from 18 different ethnic groups.
Que é dos rios mais importantes para a vida das populações locais, indígenas, ribeirinhos e pescadores.
Para nós é importante, porque dele Nós pegamos peixe, que o pessoal come peixe, muito peixe. Tem muito peixe ainda no rio. A água, ela não é importante só para a gente, é importante para a terra. Para equilibrar nosso ambiente. Ele equilibra, a água é importante, a água é a vida da gente.
Yet the Xingu River is also being choked to make way for one of 60 hydroelectric dam projects the Brazilian government has planned for the Amazon. The Belo Monte Dam is by far the most ambitious, as well as the most controversial of them.
Belo Monte will be the world's third largest hydroelectric power plant, with installed capacity of 11,233 megawatts.
Building it will displace close to 40,000 people in and around the city of Altamira. It will flood an area of 668 square kilometers of tropical rainforest and reduce an important part of the Xingu River's flow by 80%, leaving indigenous communities along the Xingu River's Big Bend without water, fish, or a means of travel.
Ficar numa situação difícil, ou seja, nós estamos numa vazão, uma área de vazão reduzida, né, onde diretamente estamos sendo afetados com o projeto, entendeu? Em todos os aspectos, diretamente a terra indígena está sendo afetada.
Two indigenous groups to be directly affected by the dam's construction are the Arara and Juruna peoples, who live in the lower Xingu in the Arara e Pacasamba territories.
E a primeira coisa que acontece com nós é que nós perdemos a navegabilidade, entendeu? A saída, entendeu? E a entrada para dentro da terra indígena.
Belo Monte vai trazer graves impactos ambientais, principalmente a seca do nosso rio Xingu.
The Kayapo live along the upper Xingu, in the north of Mato Grosso and the south of Pará. They have long fought against the Belo Monte Dam. For them, it's a reoccurring nightmare.
Belo Monte ele é desafio para nós indígenas. Nós temos que combater isso, nós temos que falar sempre não para o governo.
The Kayapo are not in an area that will be directly impacted by the Belo Monte Dam, yet they are fighting this because they understand this project represents not just the end of the way of life of the indigenous people of the lower Xingu, but also the end of their way of life, because it will end the migratory fish species upon which they depend for their survival.
Era nosso mercado aquele lá, o governo tem que ver. Era o rio, é nosso mercado, aonde nós pega alguma coisa para sustentar nossas crianças.
Although in two different parts of the world, affecting two distinctly different cultures and environments, the Belo Monte and Ilizu dams share many similarities. Both have been on the government's drawing boards for decades, and both have generated a great deal of scorn and controversy over those decades. At one time, both dam projects were cancelled. 23 years ago, the World Bank put an end to Belo Monte's funding following fierce international opposition to the project. In Turkey, European credit agencies withdrew their financial backing for Ilizu when the Turkish government failed to meet almost all the necessary criteria to protect the environment, cultural heritage, and the local communities in the area. Now, both projects are back on track, funded this time by unwitting taxpayers from both nations. Adding insult to injury, these dams have the audacity to brand themselves as clean energy.
O Brasil e suas usinas hidrelétricas. O Brasil optou pela energia limpa que vem das águas para impulsionar o seu progresso.
The argument that dams are clean is based on the idea that they don't burn fossil fuels, which in turn produces carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas provoking global warming. However, today studies are emerging which not only challenges this green label often attributed to dams, but dismisses it outright.
Hydroelectric dams are always, or almost always, presented as green energy that doesn't have any impact on global warming. And people have heard that so many times that they believe it, and they've never heard any of the other information.
Philip Fernside is a leading scientist at the National Institute for Amazon Research.
But unfortunately, dams also emit greenhouse gases, especially methane.
When forests are flooded, soft vegetation such as leaves, grass, and other biomass decay at the bottom of the reservoir where there is virtually no oxygen. Because of this, methane is produced instead of carbon dioxide.
Methane is much more powerful than carbon dioxide in provoking global warming. It was 25 times more impact per ton of gas for methane as compared to CO2.
Because of this, greenhouse gas emissions from some large shallow tropical reservoirs can actually be greater than an equivalent-sized coal-fired power plant. Fernside's also concerned about the government's plans to build other dams farther upstream on the Xingu River.
The original plan was for 6 dams. It was revised to 4 dams, but still several dams, including the next one on the list, which is just upstream of Belo Monte, called the Babaquara or Altamira Dam. And that one would be 6,140 square kilometers, a huge area.
He's calculated that with just the initial methane burst from Belo Monte and Altamira dams together, it would take 41 years before these projects would have any positive benefits in terms of global warming.
Here in the Amazon, we don't have 41 years to wait. If you're going to do something about global warming, you have to do it now. There are threats to the Amazon forest from climate change itself that put the whole forest at risk. So it's very important that you take measures against global warming now and not 41 years from now. And you can't sell hydroelectric dam as something that's green energy and good for global warming when it isn't going to be doing anything for the next 41 years in this case.
By the end of the 20th century, the dam industry had choked more than half of the Earth's major rivers with over 50,000 dams. The consequences have been devastating. Species have been wiped out, areas of wetlands, forest, and farmlands flooded, and tens of millions of people have been displaced. Today, with all that is known about dams and the new science pointing to their global warming contributions, nations, most notably in developing regions, still see monster dams in their future. There are 60 large to medium-sized dams planned for the Brazilian Amazon, and hundreds more being planned for the entire Amazon basin in South America over the coming decades. If this were to happen, not only would the contribution to global warming be significant, but researchers believe that 1,000 fish species from this part of the world could go extinct.
So it's a very large loss of biodiversity. There is no turning back in this way. If we lost this species, we lost forever.
That's a third of all known species of fish in the Amazon. The effect on the ecosystem is unknown. The effect on communities and cultures that rely on fish for survival would be disastrous. The Turkish government plans on building over 1,500 small, medium, and large dams throughout the nation by 2023. This, while a recent NASA study finds an alarming rate of decrease in water storage in the Tigris and Euphrates River basins, which currently have the second fastest rate of groundwater storage loss on Earth. Still, Turkey is moving forward with plans on damming more rivers.
Bir kere en başından ağaçların yok edilmesi, doğanın yok edilmesi nasıl bir çevreci proje olabilir? Ben onu hiç düşünmedim ama çok saçma. Yani bilmiyorum, komik geliyor.
This is crime. You kill the tigress. You kill all our history. You kill us actually. You kill all the region with its species. I'm sorry. For a century, the world is killing its rivers, and this is the last wild, free river in our region. Not only in Turkey, but also whole region in Iraq, in Iran, in Syria, and all the Middle East. So it's so valuable. This is the last final root of life. So we have to save it.
An even greater outrage, projects like Belo Monte and Ilizu are branding themselves green without conducting even the basic required studies to prove so. Belo Monte was approved with a partial environmental impacts assessment, one carried out by proponents for the dam no less.
Quem pagou o estudo de impacto ambiental desse projeto Belo Monte foram as empresas interessadas em construir o projeto, como Odebrecht, Camargo Correia, Andrade Gutierrez.
With Ilizu, no environmental impacts assessment was conducted at all.
We don't have any environmental impact assessment here. That's really one of the causes that makes this dam controversial.
Bu projenin planlandığı sonraki aşamalarda, 30 yılı aşkın aşamalarda çevre bilinci Türkiye'de hemen hemen hiç gelişmemişti. Dünyada da zaten az gelişmişti. Bu proje sadece mühendislik verilerine, hesaplarına göre planlanıp projelendirilen bir projedir. Yani asla ne kültürel mirası, ne suyu, ne su iklim dengesini, ne iç su canlılarını gözetmeden planlanmış bir projedir.
Murat Cano is a lawyer in Istanbul who has been fighting the Ilizu Dam project for decades.
Şimdi burası şuraya kadar tamamen Hasankeyf'tir.
As a citizen, he appealed to the office of the Prime Minister to move the dam to another location to save Hasankeyf. When that failed, he sued the government.
Hasankeyf bütün kültür değerleriyle birlikte yok olacaktır. O yetmiyor. Dicle Uygarlık Havzası'ndaki bütün tarihsel yerleşmeler su altında kalacaktır.
Murat is not alone in his crusade. Another legal action has been filed by the European Court of Human Rights, and there are many others in Turkey. As well, in January of 2013, the Turkish State Council ruled in favor of the Chamber of Architects and Engineers that the government didn't meet its obligation in conducting an environmental impacts assessment, so the construction should be stopped. Despite the court's decision, the government is pressing on with the dam's construction. Turkish Prime Minister Erdogan has vowed that the dam will be built by 2015.
Türkiye sadece suyu görüyor ve suyu yağmalatıyor. Şimdi de o moda başladı. Suyu ona buna yağmalatıyor. Dereleri, çayları, ırmakları ona buna yağmalıyoruz.
Belo Monte in Brazil is no stranger to legal controversy either. One of Brazil's regional appellate courts even ordered the dam's construction suspended in 2012 for not properly consulting indigenous peoples that will be affected, as required by law. That was short-lived. A federal Supreme Court judge unilaterally overturned the appellate court's decision just days later.
People who are running this program have just systematically cocked a snoot at all the constitutional and legal requirements to consult with the people in the areas that the dams are going to affect. They don't give, if you'll pardon the expression, a damn.
Today, there are currently 15 judicial processes filed against Belo Monte citing myriad violations, yet the president of Brazil, Dilma Rousseff, one of the dam's biggest supporters, says the dam will happen.
Então é um governo totalmente autoritário e que quer, com esse projeto do PAC, devastar, exterminar, destruir a Amazônia e seus povos.
Seja feita a vossa vontade, assim na terra como no céu.
E este momento aqui demonstra a nossa espiritualidade, a nossa força, que juntos, que unidos nós poderemos vencer essa batalha. É uma luta desigual, eu sempre tenho dito isso, mas nós, Juruna, nós estamos firmes, parentes, para lutar, para brigar contra todo esse processo injusto, todo esse projeto de destruição e morte, que é a morte do rio, a morte das populações indígenas.
Não, não, não! Belo Monte, não!
1 week before the United Nations Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro in 2012, in the remote Amazonian town of Santo Antonio, the last town to be closed and evacuated to make way for Belo Monte, local community members, indigenous groups, and people from around the world gathered to show support for those whose lives hang in the balance.
A morte das florestas é o fim da nossa vida. E a morte do Xingu também é o fim da vida de todos.
Xingu 23 was a meeting to mark a historic milestone and to call the world's attention to the crimes being committed in the heart of the Amazon. 23 years ago, the Belo Monte project was mothballed, given the fierce international opposition to the idea at the time. Today, although the project has been resurrected and the Xingu River is partially blocked, those participating at Xingu 23 believe they have the duty to try and shut it down again.
Isso é uma afronta contra o ser humano, é uma afronta contra a natureza. E tudo que acontece na natureza, o povo vai responder. Mudanças climáticas, por exemplo, não escolhe a porta onde bate. Ela vai bater em todas as portas. E quem sofre mais, com certeza, são os povos menos favorecidos e quem está mais próximo do empreendimento.
To come here, we flew 2 days, so Turkey is very, very far.
Among the global delegation, 2 from a nation with much in common with this fight were also in attendance.
We came here to Amazonia because we share the same hope and same, actually, we struggle the same problem, the big dam problem with Amazonia.
Amazon and Mesopotamia, this banner.
Amazônia, Mesopotâmia, o mesmo rosto, o mesmo ser vivo, né?
We should fight together for our common enemy, for monster dams. We should be together because they are together. I know the dam builders are working all around the world, here in India, in Africa, in Indonesia, in Turkey, in Europe. They are everywhere and they are united. But we are apart for the moment. I think we have to unite as well, like the rivers, not like the dam builders. I think Xingu River should not be lost, because if you lose the Xingu River, we lose the Tigris River in Turkey.
The following day, dam-affected community members, indigenous groups, international delegates and guests attending Xingu 23 marched orderly and peacefully to an area where construction on Belo Monte had already choked part of the Xingu River. It was their goal to have the river flow again, but only a united and sustained effort would break through months of heavy machine work, as well as years of government lies and malfeasance.
We see dozens of indigenous people, riverine people from the city of Altamira, people from the city of Sao Paulo, from different urban communities around Brazil, people from Turkey, from the United States, from Israel, from France, all gathered today to send a message to the Brazilian government and to the world that this is not the way forward for humanity.
Vai cair! Vai cair! Belo Monte vai cair! Viva a nossa luta!
After a full day of intense work under a hot Amazon sun, the Xingu River, after being stopped for months, flowed once again. And although the act was symbolic and it wouldn't shut down the dam for good, it was hugely successful and effective in sending a clear message. If a small, determined group could accomplish this in a day, imagine what a united world could do tomorrow.
Força do povo unido, consciente, é capaz de realizar milagre desse. A liberdade do nosso rio Xingu. Ah, maravilha.
Nós temos que nos unir. Definitivamente, essa é a palavra: união, resistência e continuar na luta. Porque o povo tem que entender que o poder é do povo. Nós empregamos o governo. O governo, portanto, é nosso empregado. Nós mandamos no país. Nós temos direito de exigir que sejam cumpridos os nossos quereres, que a nossa Amazônia seja preservada, que os direitos sejam respeitados.
Como é que pode ser limpa um empreendimento que provoca degredo, que provoca fim de relações de compadrio, fim de relações de amizade, desestrutura culturalmente um grupo? Considerar isso uma energia limpa é considerar o meio ambiente absolutamente dissociado das pessoas.
Yani koruma bilincinin internasyonel düzeyde gelişmesi, kenetlenmesi gerekiyor. Başka türlü olmaz. Yani ya insanlık el ele birlikte bütün coğrafyalarını kurtaracak, ya bana ne ötekinden diyecek, sonra kendisi de yok olur. Durum.